Amen. Hallelujah. Good morning. Help me welcome the person to your right, your left. Let's welcome them as you take us in God's presence. Thank you for logging on to be part of our service today. Wherever you're connecting from, we welcome you to this service. And we know that the power of the Lord is right there with you. And your transformation is certain, guaranteed today in the mighty name of Jesus. Praise the Lord. So good to see you. All right, so it's our interactive service today. And what we do in the interactive service is just having conversations around the topic that we have discussed in the month. So this month we have been talking about following God and honoring God. And we've had the opportunity of talking about so many things. What does it mean to follow God? How do you honor God? Finding the will of God and finding your purpose. And so this morning, we have an interesting panel that will be joining us to do proper justice to this topic. All right, so I'll welcome Nick, our moderator, and the panelists.
Hi, church. Good morning. Okay, so thank you, Pastor T, for this privilege. I don't take it for granted, especially now that we are now looking at purpose for God in our lives. I don't take this privilege of moderating today's panel for granted. So Pastor has actually already given us the expo. I was hoping to do like a trivia, and then I will sell some anointing for Pastor T as a gift, but Pastor has given us the expo. So we'll just go right into it. Welcome everybody to church. I think because we don't have so much time, I'll just call all the panelists to just come forward. If you're a panelist and you have been identified, just, come forward, please. Clap for them all. Because it is whatever it is that they say from here that the Holy Spirit will use to minister to you today. So please honor them, right? Thank you so much for joining us on the panel. So just to put a couple of things out there in terms of what we need to do. So you guys have done the first thing. You've clapped for them. You've honored them. Thank you very much. The second thing is you will help me in moderating today as well. So if you have any question, please just write it down and give it to the ushers around. Please, because we don't have so much time, let's ensure that the questions are in line with what we are discussing. Okay? Do we have a deal? Thank you. Okay, and then for the panelists, please, we also do not have so much time. So if I call one person, I have the honor of calling the person that will speak first today. So if I call one person, the next person should just take it. Let's not wait until, they are being called so that we don't waste too much time. Okay, so I'll just give a bit of background before I allow the panelists to speak. This month, like Pastor said, we've been talking about following and honoring God. Oh my God. We're talking about following and honoring God. And Pastor also made a bit of segue into talking about understanding our purpose. That's because for you to honor God and follow God, you have to understand God's purpose in any situation, your life, your circumstances that you are in and all that. So Pastor talked about, understanding his purpose for our lives for the last 2 weeks. Just also to talk about how that has impacted me. And I think it's very important that, Pastor started with that, because usually we start the year with, New Year resolution, I must do this by this time, I must do this. But we realize that, after doing it for several years, realize that actually, if God doesn't allow it, it can't happen. So why not start from understanding God's will for your life first, before we get into the hustle and bustle of the year? You know how Pastor's favorite word is hustle. Before we get into the hustle and bustle of the year, Pastor doesn't like that word. So it's better for us to have speed, to have direction and to have speed. You understand? I think that's why it's very important that we went through the 4 weeks of honoring God, following God, and then understanding his will and purpose for our life. Personally, the word has actually convicted me several times and in several areas, has showed me that sometimes it's not just about knowing, because we feel like we're so educated, we know what is good for our life, but when you subject yourself under the teaching of God and under the teaching of the Holy Spirit, it begins to point out different things in your life that you think you can actually do, differently without putting so much effort. Will it be easy? No. But, we are here to learn. So I have these 4 beautiful, amazing, marvelous, spirit-filled, anointed, world-class individuals who will be helping me to unpack the topic today. And the reason why we're here, why they are doing this, is because, sometimes, like I said, a lot of things happen here on this altar where Pastor talks about several things. Some of it convicts us, but sometimes hearing from people and how it affects them also goes, an extra mile. So I will start, with one question. Personally, I've talked about mine, right? How has the message, blessed you? What have you done differently in the last 4 weeks that Pastor has been talking about the message? Pastor, I'll start with you. Oh, yeah. Thank you, Che.
Okay. The Bible says in Matthew 4:19 that Jesus said, "Follow me, and I will make you fishers of men." It is in following God that our making resides. So when I heard that word, following and honoring God, I saw that it's actually a different thing from what we used to hear. My year of extravaganza, my year of open doors and unusual blessings. But if you look at it, everything we're looking for, every of our blessings is embedded in following and honoring God. And for every word that has been said, especially on purpose, there is no time when you sit down and you don't want to check as a Christian that are you right in the will of God whenever you find yourself. So for that, you will, I get blessed by that word, purpose. So, and I've done a whole lot of things again to ask myself, the place I am, the things I am doing, am I actually at the center and the center of God's plan for my life? So that actually is programming me to know that every step I take, I am not just taking the steps according to my own mind, but according to the leading of the Holy Spirit. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to say from the word for the year, following and honoring God, the way it has touched my own life personally, I would say, just like Pastor Femi said, it's not a regular, it's not a common word. You see word that has to do with prosperity or saying something that looks like, okay, very, how would I put it, appealing. Let me use the word appealing, to us. But that word, I think when Pastor Tunde said God gave him that word, it touched me, in this way that I see it more like the Bible, the word of God being real, coming alive, not something far. Because if you say following and honoring someone, we all know what it means. We can relate to it. If I say, okay, I'm following and honoring Pastor today, or, Brother Mola here, of course, that means I respect the person. If the person tells me something, I will take out time to ensure, that I please. So I see it as a closer, for me, I see it as a closer walk with God. And God drawing, our attention to something we need to really see. And that all these blessings are also in just that simply, submitting to Him, and following Him. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so for me, one thing that really struck me and that's been so helpful in the last 4 weeks is the distinction that became so clear to me about understanding the good will of God, the acceptable will of God, and the perfect will of God. I mean, the understanding of those three was like liberation for me in some way, because it's been just how many days in January, but I've had to take some decisions, make up my mind on certain things. So having to bring it side by side with that understanding, I mean, I'm not confused. Ordinarily, it would have taken me so long to make up my mind to understand what exactly I'm supposed to be doing. But understanding the perfect will of God, being the ultimate, which means what necessarily is good for someone might not be what is right for me. I mean, that kind of just helped me, and it just changed my life. It changed the way I pray, changed the way I approach decision making, and also that particularly has been a blessing for me in that way.
Thank you.
Praise God.
Hallelujah.
I think that I have the same experience like what she just shared. And that's basically from Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Like, do not be conformed to the word, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. So I think that struck me. And, there was a statement that Pastor made that it's possible that you're prosperous, you do giving, you do most of these other things and still miss the main thing.
Yeah.
So that called my attention to myself. Like, hope I'm not doing so many other things and forgetting the main thing. Jesus Christ in Matthew chapter 7 was talking about in the last days, like what is going to happen to some people. Like some people are going to come to Jesus and say, see, we raised people in your name. Like we actually casted out demons in your name. I mean, those are good works. Do you understand? But the pastor was talking about the difference between the main will of God and dead works. So I think that actually struck me. So
thank you so much. See, motivational speakers don't do pass like this. People should clap. Clap for them. Okay, so I think we've all touched on one thing which is very clear, and that's purpose, understanding the purpose of God for our life, right? So, can everybody hear me? Okay. You can't hear me? Not well. Can you hear me now? So I need to hold it better. Okay, thank you. All right, so purpose, that's one word that I think has been totally abused. And yet, despite the fact that it has been totally abused, yet it also has not gotten enough recognition, you understand, if you know what I mean. So on both fronts, you see people that are actually making money from just teaching people how to understand their purpose, and that's where the role of the motivational speakers and everybody comes in. And then also people telling people what their purpose should be without actually going to God. And then we also have the part where we know that we have not scratched the surface when it comes to understanding purpose. So I want to ask, and I think I'm also echoing what is in the mind of most people that are here, how do you understand your purpose? Yes, Pastor has spoken about it. Pastor has given us some, insight into how to do it. We've talked about how God has given us two major things: the Word and the Holy Spirit, right? But personally, I want to understand from four of you. Don't forget, I said you guys are world class. So that means that one way or the other, you have identified the purpose of God for your life. So personally, how do you do that? And what are the tips you can also give to the people in church today?
Praise the Lord. Okay, I think the first question for me when it comes to purpose is, where does purpose come from? Where does the purpose of a thing come from? Now, the purpose of everything is determined by the manufacturer. So the purpose of this mic wasn't determined by me. The purpose of this pen wasn't determined by me. Purpose is first of all determined by the manufacturer. We hear that word when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. When I don't know the purpose of this pen, or I don't know the purpose of this, I might use it for something else. So number one, we must get to know that purpose doesn't come from us. Purpose comes from our maker, our manufacturer.
Yeah.
I want to quote these few scriptures for us to see this. Matthew 1:21, the Bible talks about Jesus. He says, you shall give birth to a son, and we shall call his name Jesus, for he will save his people from their sins. So the purpose of Jesus was determined before he came. The same was said in, I think, John chapter 18, verse 37. Jesus Christ said, for this reason I came, and for this purpose I have come into this world. And I think Galatians chapter 1, 15 and 16, Apostle Paul also was talking about that was a time he was separated from his mother's womb. So everyone talked about his purpose. So number one, the purpose of everything is from the maker. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5, he said, before I knew you, before I formed you in the belly, I ordained you a prophet to nations. Now, we've heard our pastor said this over the years, over time, that God instructed his mom, there was a prophecy before his birth, that a child will be coming, this must not happen to this child, this is the child that God, wants to use. And then we discover now that he is following the purpose and plan of God, according to that prophecy. So the same is. So I'm saying here that, number one, we must get to know that purpose is not from us. God determines our purpose. I wouldn't know if I can stop here to give other people.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I want to take it from this point. The word sincere just came to mind. As Pastor Femi was talking, being sincere with ourselves. Now, I will use myself as a case study here. I actually went to Jibo High School. Jibo High School is not far from here. And actually, when I was to get into, from JS to SS, that's senior secondary, I realized I saw some of my classmates opting to go to science class. And I just felt, okay, these weird, intelligent people, So I joined them. In fact, the head boy of the school, he was a science student. But I noticed something along the line that I was struggling. In fact, I was promoted on trial from SS. Yes, I knew I was smart. I knew, of course, it's not like I was, the last in the class. But I noticed there was a struggle within me. So at a point I switched, to become an art student. I started doing government. I started taking, because I tried. So I noticed while I started doing government and all those stuff, I noticed my strength was more in that, not all the calculation and all. And it wasn't funny. Now, along the line, I'm going to cut it short by this. That's why I'm going to go back to that word being sincere. Like Pastor Femi said, the purpose of a cup is to use to drink water. And from the Creator, God knows every one of us. So it's good in quick time. Know your strength. That's what I'm going to say. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So I think Uche has touched. Thank you for being very sincere. I think Uche has touched on. I think Uche has touched on something that is very important, and I think we also need to talk about. And I think I'll leave it for the question for the last two people. What is the role of society? You understand? Of our mindsets, of how we have been brought up in our purpose. You understand? So how does that play? Because he talked about how I fell victim for it, although it so happened that I picked up. But I also went to science class for the sole purpose of going to science class. At the end of the day, I'm not doing anything that has to do with titration today. You understand? So can you just touch on the role of the society, mindset, influence on our purpose?
Okay, so I'll start by saying that in my understanding of it, right, purpose is, first of all, not a destination, right? It's a journey that we go through. Like, it's not like you just say, yes, I've arrived. This is it. So it's a continuous thing. We grow in it. It evolves. God takes us through it and all of that. So, and just like Pastor Femi said, purpose originates from God. So to even start with at all, if you have not given your life to Christ or you are not in Christ, you have not even started. So, but once you've entered into that relationship with God, you are on your way and then you are taking the journey. However, so when you have a relationship with Christ, you're surrendered to Him, He's leading you, He's guiding you. And therefore, every of the experiences, everything you go through, there's a way they kind of form up to, it's as good as God giving you a particular kind of job, just so you'll be able to fulfill a particular kind of thing or reach a certain kind of people. Someone was telling me that there's a reason why Jesus had to be a carpenter at some point of his life. So he knows the weight of wood. Maybe at one point he may have nailed his hand mistakenly or something. So all of those things, they kind of, and you see how all of these things now come to play when he's on his way to Calvary, And I'm also going to take a clue from Pastor Tunde. I've heard him tell us so much about his life before he became fully into ministry, how he was in business and all, how he ran into all of the problems. And when I look at it, really, I don't think it was a mistake. Because if you look around now, see the size and number and the weight of entrepreneurs in this church, people doing a lot of, they just needed that cover. We just all need that cover, the insights it gives us in that area. So in all of it, it might just look like some things in our life, they went the wrong way. But honestly, it says it's ordering our steps. So eventually, every one of them is going to come together and form up to actually channel us to a particular thing at a point in our life. So really, nothing is a waste. As long as it's God taking you through it, it will come at one point and to be a blessing to you and to people around you in helping you fulfilling purpose.
And thank you very much. And I think that's a good example of what happened to Pastor. The acceptable will of God, the permissible will of God. And then when God knew that, no, you're not doing permissible anymore, come to ministry, that's when he now came. So I think, thank you very much for that example. Please.
All right, okay, so I'm just going to wrap it up, right? And I'm going to start from Hosea chapter 6, verse 2. It said, on the second day, he will revive us, and on the third day, he will raise us up. If you go into Ephesians chapter 2 from verse 1, it said, and ye are quickened from ye who are dead in trespasses and sins. So what I'm talking about today is, in knowing your purpose, conscience is very, very key. And that's to buttress what Bro Uche said the other time, right? You cannot take away the role of conscience in knowing your purpose, right? And what I'm saying is, when you come into Christ, something has been quickened from you. That's why sometimes you want to do something and you just feel like something told me. That's because what? Your conscience is now alive. And if you can breathe upon that, you can what? From the nudgings within your heart, they call it intuition. From that, you'll be able to you'll be able to nail what your purpose should actually be in life. So back into how society affects us. Yes, it affects us both in the positive and in the negative way. But this we can correct by the virtue of our relationship with God. It also buttresses what Pastor Femi said. See, for you to come into your purpose, you cannot find it in the Word, right? We need to understand that the things happening around us shouldn't limit us. Then that's why we need to focus on our relationship with God. And when you find it, there is two things that are actually going to confirm it for you, which is what? The joy and the peace that you find in doing it. Hallelujah.
Okay, I want to add to this what I said earlier, that purpose isn't determined by you. Purpose is determined by your maker. But the truth of the matter is this: everybody doesn't get to know their purpose from the beginning of life. Just like you talked about society, Bro Uche mentioned, because that was what we met in school then. Science is the best, commercial is second, followed by art. But I also found myself in science department because they believe I was good at math and all of that. But I would have loved to be in art class because I talk a lot, and that can even express my potential, So number one, purpose is not from us. Number two, when we talk about the story of Joseph, for instance, at the age of 17 was when he knew what God was calling him to. He saw a revelation. So we can get to a point in our life, maybe after secondary school, that's when you begin to get to understand what God is telling you to do. Some get it very early. Like Solomon, for instance, God, when he was to pray that, okay, my assignment is to give justice to the children of Israel, to be a leader. So at one point or the other, but society, like you said, my mom might have said, I want a doctor in the family, I want a lawyer, so she's already grooming me to becoming what she wanted, not what God wanted. But let me quickly digress to come back to this point. Some of us are actually answer to the prayers of our children. Just like Samuel was a prayer to the answer of Anna. God, give me a son that will be a prophet or that will serve you. So when you come and you are doing otherwise, because God already agreed with Anna, God already agreed with your mother, whatever you're doing differently, He will always have a way to knock you back. Now, I read a book sometime about a guy whose father actually wanted him to become a doctor. He did all and he graduated. On his graduating day, the father was very proud to have a son as a doctor. But the boy, when he was to give his speech, he said, Dad, I have done your own wish up until now. I want you to get off my back. Let me go and get to do what I want to do. And he went into music. So, but when you look at music and medicine, there are two different things that you don't tell your mom you want to go into dancing or music, and you won't call your pastor for counseling. That's, come and see what my son has said he wants to do. But things are changing. But when we come to God, intimacy also brings about the purpose of God for our life. And following someone who already has known where God is leading him. Elijah's story, Timothy, Paul's story. I might be following PT, and in the course of following and serving, God reveals what is mine. So I said, first of all, that our purpose is from the beginning, but not everybody gets it. At some point, 17, at 5, at 6. But what is important is there are so many factors. We also must pay attention to what we are attracted to. Some people are easily attracted to things. Some people are easily taken aback. So we must also pay attention. That is also a signal to our purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you. As you can see me, I'm taking down my notes. I'm taking down the nuggets from this platform. I don't want to wait to Carol when the children are not telling us what we learned through the year. So if I were you, I would take down everything, and there'll still be opportunity to ask questions in case there's anything you're not clear about. Thank you so much, Pastor Femi and the rest of the panelists. Another thing I wanted to, I think we should also talk about is when we find this purpose. We've talked about the influence of society, the influence of mindsets, the influence of our parents and all that, in sometimes derailing. Like you said, it could be positive, it could be negative. They could actually help you. Sometimes they can actually derail you. But even we ourselves, when this purpose is now revealed, is it every time? Or do you think that everybody whose purpose has been revealed to them likes the purpose that has been revealed to them? Do you think, once it hits you, like, thank you, Jesus, and you just run with it? Do you think it happens to everybody like that? Or do you think, and if it doesn't happen to you, if you don't happen to agree, so to speak, to the purpose, what do you do? So, Pastor Femi, you know what? I've put you on the hot seat for too long. Let's start from this side. So, Damola, do you want to take it?
I don't think you are always going to be happy about it. At first, you won't, like, most especially for me personally, like, I don't get to like it. And I used to give God different excuses as to why it shouldn't happen. It's just like a scenario when God told me about my wife, like, he had told me, like, since 200 level, but then I just waved it. Then 300 level, 400 level, like, I knew that it was actually time. Then there was a day I was just, I think she was sick. And being the pastor in the fellowship, right? I went to see the sister in the Lord. So fortunately, like, I asked about her genotype. Then she told me AS. At that point, I was just like, God, thank you. You already know. I'm a science student, so I know about the genetics, whatever, right? Like AS cannot marry AS. So I was just telling God right in that point. But right from there, God told me that, whose report would you believe? And at that point, I was just like, God, like, you're going back to this thing again. Can't you see this thing? So I think most of the times, like, it's not always palatable, but it's in doing it that you find joy and peace. Hallelujah.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would also like to add, first thing is, if you'll be happy about your purpose, well, maybe not. But if you will find joy, fulfilling purpose, certainly. Because happiness and joy, they don't actually mean the same thing. Happiness is ephemeral, it's emotion, you're just excited. But joy is more of internal. Like, it kind of has this connection with God, this satisfaction from within. So if you would always be happy, maybe yes, maybe no. But if you will find joy, certainly. So, and I'm going to just make two examples, right? The first is of Paul. Like, he got struck on his way to Damascus, and right there he heard God. And it was clear what he was supposed to be doing. But this man was in prison, in Caesarea, in Rome, place he was beaten, was in a shipwreck. It was going through a lot of things that were not exactly nice. And I don't think at those times he was jumping up, right? I mean, while in the prison, he wrote Colossians, Ephesians, Philemon, and I think about 4 of them. And those books, when you go through it, I mean, you will see how he's happy. Sometimes you say, I, Paul, a prisoner of the Lord Jesus. Like, it's not like I don't think they used to sing and dance in prison. But he finds joy in what he's doing. The second example is Jesus. From our children drama, you see, they say, and God was looking for who to go and say, send me, Father, I will go. Like, we had known that since. So it means Jesus knew what he was going to do on earth. But at the point, he says, Father, if this cup will just pass over me. But he said, nevertheless, your will be done. And this brings us again back to the perfect will of God. It's sacrificial. It's not bread and butter. It's not something nice. It's not glittering. They are not always things that will excite you, but that is where we should be because we'll find joy in there.
Okay, so I want to speak from this perspective also. Of course, just as we've all heard, purpose is not something that you just you take upon yourself easily. Though Jesus said, "My yoke is easy and my burden is light," but to our flesh, it's not always easy. And so I will still use myself as a practical case study because it's good we're in touch with what is really happening. And now, I want to quickly say this. I knew Pastor Today from Daystar, of course, and at the point, I was with the Watch Force. Because then I never planned that I was going to join WhiteOlive. Pastor Today was our district pastor. But at a point, while I was, with the prayer team, on a particular day, I started seeing signs that I wasn't meant to. Why Pastor Today left Daystar? I started seeing signs, okay, you have to leave. It was time. Now, I don't want us to lose focus. Now, because it's about purpose. And I started seeing, God started speaking to me about Pastor Tunde as a person and learning. Now, that's the point where, okay, your purpose at times will not just jump on you, not just receive it. There's a place of training, there's a place of learning, there's a place of pain. Pain is part of life. That's where we run from. And we cannot fulfill our purpose if we don't humble ourselves. And so this is very key, in fulfilling our purpose, because so many times a lot of us want to be high there, where we are seen as the CEO, boss, everybody submitting to you. We don't want to be in the background. So I want to say this as I wrap up, this part. So for us to just simply accept our purpose, we must first humble ourselves. If we are not humble, we cannot fulfill purpose. I just want to leave it at that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, my contribution will also be from where Pastor Uche ended. If we look at the life of Elijah we know was a man that was given to prayers, but there was a time, as I say, Elijah became Elijah's when he told God that God should kill him because of the wife of a king, So, and there was a time, when he told God to kill him, he had to even sleep. God had to send an angel to come and give him bread. When he ate the first one, it was not okay, he slept again. The angel returned, make sure the food was very hot on the coal of fire. So as he ate it in 40 days, he ran. Now, that we will always be happy about what God said is not always true. The story of Abraham and Isaac, nobody hears that go and kill your son that you waited for 100 years. And you jump up the next day and say, we are going up to the mountain and take the... No, nobody does that. So we will not always be happy, but that we will find joy. Oh, yes. Joy is what we get when we step into purpose. Joy is what we get when we step into purpose. So I want to quickly say this also, that our jobs may not necessarily be the purpose of God for our life. But when you know purpose, now let me say this quickly. If, for instance, I hate to see people sick. Now, when I give my life to Christ, I can either say I want to go to a medical school to see that everyone who is sick around me gets better treatment. I can equally say I want to go into nursing. I can equally say I want to be a pastor. Then there are other areas too that you see, but our job is not our purpose. But our job can be an expression of our purpose. You don't like sick people, and you truly know from the age of 7 or 8, and you get into medical school, and God uses you to change all of those things, then you are fulfilling purpose with your job. Just like P.T. said, sometimes some of us get into a job because we want to survive. Oh, it's happening in real estate. If you calculate it, if I sell 20 houses and I make 5 million, that's 100 million. Then that's fine. But God might not even be sending you. But there is other person, each time he sleeps, he's always seeing himself at construction site. He might even not like that area, but that is what God is telling him. And when you sit down with him, you just want to be around it. And if you find people who have found their purpose, you want to be like them. Because the aura around them speak that thing. So we will not always find happiness all the time. Just like she said, happiness is an issue. Just like you plan a program, and at the end of the day, you say you're expecting 500 person, and only 5 persons showed up. You don't get there and start jumping up. I remember the story of one man, is it Billy Graham? That a man of God planned a program, and he was expecting that after all much prayers and whatever, that there will be massive harvest of soul. It was only one 9-year-old boy who came up, and he was so angry that God, of all the fasting and prayer, this 9-year-old boy, but God instructed him pray for this 9-year-old boy. That 9-year-old boy became Billy Graham, and you see what the harvest has been. So sometimes we may not always be happy, but joy is in our purpose. Yeah. Praise the Lord.
We have a question here. Please, if you have any question, please just write it down. We'll take it. Please, any questions, please just write it down. This question says, please, what is the difference between a dream and purpose? A dream and a purpose.
Okay, when you talk about a dream, like I said, purpose is what the purpose of a thing is determined before you arrive here. A dream is what you see when you are here. So they are not the same thing. I hope that answers that.
Yeah, thank you.
Or maybe what you're talking about, my dream, my vision or something. So, but purpose is what you get before you are here. A dream is, a dream might come from our purpose. Just like I mentioned now, what's his name? What's his name? Joseph. Joseph had a dream at the age of 17 that this is what God is telling him. Your purpose might be revealed to you in your dream. Sister Tolani mentioned about Saul on his way to Damascus. God wanted him to be an evangelist or an apostle, but he was going about killing the apostles. God had to intercept him and showed him in that vision the same of Solomon. So our our purpose can actually be revealed to us via dreams. Thank you.
Okay, I would just also like to add to that. There's no doubt about it. Purpose is from God. But dreams, it's not exactly equal to purpose. They might merge at some point, yeah? But really, just think of it. When you ask a 4-year-old child, what do you want to become? Child might tell you, I want to become a doctor because probably the father is a doctor. I wanted to become an engineer because there was no engineer in our house, in my lineage. And I knew at that then I was cast for a lady to be an engineer. So I was particularly looking forward to becoming an electrical engineer. Like it was so, and there was nothing big to it, and I'm not even doing it today. It was just something in my mind because of what I'm seeing around, so your dreams are just things that you look forward to doing. They are not necessarily your purpose. But if you are in Christ and working with God, listening to his instructions, it's possible they converge at some point, yes, but they are not necessarily equal.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we are running out of time, so I'll do 2 questions in one, and anybody can go. All right, so first things first is, can your purpose change? Can you have several purposes in one lifetime? Question. Can your purpose change? Can you have several purposes in one lifetime? I'll give an example. Let me break it down. So in the course of this series, right, that Pastor has been talking about, one of the things that God laid in my heart, because I've been praying about something in my career, and I have this particular situation at my workplace that I just felt, what, God, just take me out of it. I don't even want to deal, because I think I've done my best, but I don't want to even deal about it. And God laid in my heart that this person that you don't want to deal is an atheist. Your job is to get that person. You don't even have to get the person to Christ. Just show love, Just in the course of this series, in the same January that the pastor has been talking about it. So in that particular situation, that is my purpose. But does that mean I have other purpose that God has, created for my life? I think yes, right? So do you guys want to give it a go? Can you have several purposes in one lifetime?
Okay, I think we need to get to understand what is purpose.
Okay.
Purpose is the reason a thing exists. Purpose is the reason a thing exists. The purpose of this mic is to amplify my voice. The The purpose of this chair is to make me comfortable. Can I change this chair to the microphone? Can I change this microphone to a pen? Except it's multi-purpose. Except you are created multi-purpose person. You know, they call you a four-man. You are 4 men in 1 man. But if your purpose was determined before you came here, you cannot change it. My opinion. Of course, we should have different opinion. That's one. But I use an example, for instance. If my purpose because my purpose in life will always bring attraction or hatred to whatever. Now, if my purpose in life, for instance, is, okay, if I wouldn't know if you can display, what's it called? John 18, is it John 18? Yes, John 18:37. I would want to use that scripture. But if, while it is displayed, I'll say this. Now, Pilate therefore said to him, "Are you a king then?" Jesus answered, "You say rightly that I'm a king. For this cause I was born. For this cause I have come into the world, that I should bear witness to the truth." That was the purpose why he came, to bear witness to the truth. But that assignment has to carry a form, has to carry a profession. My purpose is to ensure that everybody around me gets well. But that purpose has to carry an expression. A nurse, a medical doctor, or a pastor, a child care person, or what have you. If my purpose is to ensure that dreams come true, like Joseph, each time Pharaoh has a dream, I'm available. But I must carry a profession, that you don't just say you are jack of all trade. It must carry a profession. If your purpose in life is to be a healer, so that healer can now carry different professions. So whichever you now come in, it's fine. But I don't think purpose change, except my definition of purpose is not the same with the next person. Thank you.
You want to react to it?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to it, not. I just wanted to say this, that no matter the number of persons on earth, right? God is the originator of all our purposes, and even though we might exhibit them in different forms, right? It points to God, and no matter how diverse, it's still one thing: to honor God eventually, all right? So if we have that in mind, it is not like it is changing, it's not like it's changing, but you will be at different points, at different times, to do different things. At one point, Jesus said, "The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has anointed me to preach freedom to the poor," this, that. At another place, he said, when he met Zacchaeus, he said, "For the Son of Man has come to seek and to save." It's not like it changed, right? And then another place, he said, "But I have come that you may have life, and have life more abundantly." So what Jesus came to do on earth didn't really change. But at different times, at different points, meeting different people is expressed in different ways. So your purpose won't change, really, because it is just one thing: to honor God, but it can be expressed in different ways as you journey through life.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we have, we have several questions here. Some are only from Pastor T, but just one last question, actually, asked by two different people. Can your talents be your purpose? Can your talent be used for your purpose? And then, if your talent is not your purpose, and God says that we should not bury our talents, how should we go about it? I think that's a good question, right? Can you hear me? There's something. Who is this speaker? I said, the question: can your talents be used for your purpose? If yes, if no, what do you do then? Because God said we should not bury our talents. So what should you do?
Okay, let me quickly say this. That what we call talent is our purpose a lot of the times. What we call talent in me, my talent. What we call talent. And that one in Matthew 25 is not actually your gifting. That story of the talent. That's why Pastor Sam wrote Parable of the Dollars. It was about business investment. It was money. That parable of talent is not, because when the master came and the one who had just one talent said, "At least you should have deposited it in the bank." It wasn't talking about the gift. But when we talk about gift, it's actually, our purpose. Let me stop there.
Okay. I think I'll use that as the last question. Okay, no, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, definitely your talent, or maybe some people might say your gift. You use that word, those words together, gift, talent. Definitely, God put it there for a reason. Like Pastor Femi said, it's a pointer also to your purpose, what you are good at. Okay, let me use Michael Jackson. He dances. Michael Jackson dances so well, although that might not be that's just like a skill God gave to him, okay? And people just liked him, and in fact, he was so famous. But if it's not used rightly, if he didn't use it to the way God packaged him, and he didn't do what was in the mind of God, okay? So that talent at the end of the day to God means nothing. So I would say definitely God put some of the gifts we have, talent we have, to be a blessing to people and ultimately glorify his name. So that is what your talent is for. So you should use it to glorify God and bless humanity. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, so let me throw a bit of balance to it, just to buttress what everyone has said. Yes, definitely, your talent, you can use it for your purpose, it's your purpose, right? But where the balance is understanding the will of God for that particular season, right? You can have a talent to sing, but God might just ask you not to sing for that particular season. So all of these things, they still have a way they still find their way into God, like honoring God. There is a way you can dishonor God with your talent when you're going out of course. So I think the question is really that, what is the instruction of the Lord for that particular season that you're in? It might not be like God is asking you to shut down that aspect of your life forever. It might just be like, okay, God wants you to take caution, or probably God just wanted to retreat and learn. So it's not that God is going to ask you, okay, don't use your talent, but it's just that God wanted to understand that, okay, for this particular season, this is the instruction I'm giving to you. So what I'm saying is, learn to understand the will of God per time, per season. See, this is something we should learn from David. David never lost a battle. Did you ask why? That's because before David will go into a battle, he will firstly ask God. There are some times that God will give him instructions. There are some times that God will ask him, David, do not go to this battle. This battle is for me. I'm going to fight for you. There was a time that David went to a battle, and it seemed as though he lost the battle. Then he went back to God, and God gave him a strategy. He said, when you get into the battle, arrange some of your guys to what? He gave him a strategy on how to win it. And that was how he was able to defeat those guys. So what is important is what? Understanding the will of God for that particular season. Hallelujah.
Sorry, please, I would just like to add something too. Sorry. So whatever talent is, just to that person, whatever talent it is you have and you're manifesting, fantastic. However, just remember what Pastor said. Whatever you're doing and it doesn't have eternal consequence, you're just probably over there doing something. If it doesn't have an eternal consequence, please just sit back and find God through it. And an example is Bezalel. Bezalel was a designer, so to say, which in our world could look like an interior decorator or something, or an architect. But what he was called to do was to build the temple according to the specs that God gave Moses. That can look so ordinary. He's talented, right? But then he used it to fulfill God's purpose. So whatever you're doing, just make sure that it has eternal consequence. That's when it counts.
Thank you so much. We've run out of time now. I think we have one question here that has already been answered. I'll just read it out. It said, is there an age where you are meant to know and have fulfilled your purpose? If yes, when is that time? So I think Pastor Femi mentioned that earlier. Some people will know their purpose early. Some people will not know their purpose, early. But whenever it is you find your purpose, ensure you're working towards fulfilling that purpose. There's one last question here that I'll leave for Pastor T to react to. Thank you so much, the panelists. Thank you so, so much. If you don't, thank you. If you don't remember anything from today, remember these things, right? You cannot know your purpose until you know your maker. You cannot use an iPhone until you look at, what the maker has put as the instruction, right? You have to be sincere with your purpose. you need to have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. That's where your conscience comes in. To understand, the peace. That's where the peace comes in when you're, in line with your purpose. They also touched on mentoring, which I think Pastor also talk about as well. The role of mentoring and understanding and fulfilling your purpose, right? And then you will find joy, regardless of the fact that you have momentary displeasure when you find your purpose. But ultimately, you will find joy when you're fulfilling your purpose. Thank you very, very much.
Praise the Lord. Let me appreciate our panelists one more time. All right, so do we still have... Okay, so there's a question I'm supposed to attend to. Hey, I'm in trouble. How many of us have listened to the messages over and over again? That's where the power and the transformation is. The reason why our lives is not changing is because the information that's getting to us, okay, is stronger, than the resistance that we have within. If you haven't listened to the messages since the beginning of the year, and you are talking about purpose, you are not ready yet. Because despite the fact that there was a prophecy concerning my life, I still needed that guidance. Is somebody listening to me? It's the reason why it looks like our life is... So somebody who says talent. We've talked about all these things since we started the session. So the problem is that it looks like we haven't listened to the messages. We haven't listened to the messages. Guys, listen to me. The reason why you're a Christian, the whole essence of why you're a Christian is so that you will not live in the flesh. That you will not be modulated, controlled, and regulated by your senses. That's what happened to Adam. He was reduced from the supernatural to ordinary. If you live your life on that level, you will fall short. The whole essence of Christianity is so that you will not live in the flesh. Any other thing you've had, this one, that you will not be regulated by the flesh. That's all. That's all. When God said he will die if he sinned, if he disobeyed him, all of us knew that he didn't die physically. In other words, they didn't understand what God was saying. What happened was that they died spiritually, regulated to the five senses. When you became a Christian, you are activated in that realm. Every child of God who says, I'm a Christian and lives by the flesh, by the senses, you cannot. The flesh cannot fulfill the purpose of God. He cannot even please God. Are you listening to me? So you don't know what I want, and then you're trying to show me love. You will try everything until you find the one that works. That's everything. Don't be regulated by flesh. That's why it says, you will only be transformed. Your life will only change when you do what? When you renew the mind. Now, it didn't stop that. He said that is when you will now be able to enter into the perfect will of God for your life. Very important. Very important. So listen to these messages again. You should listen to them. Sometimes I go to check them on YouTube. You are not even listening to them. And you cannot produce beyond what is inside of you. It's what the bird eats that it flies with. I'm telling you. I'll tell you. Very important. So, Matthew chapter 1, verse 21, when they're talking about the purpose of Jesus, He said Mary will conceive and she will have a son, and his name shall be called Jesus, and he shall save his people from their sin. The whole essence of Jesus' coming was to be who? The Savior. But at some point in all his conversation, he was telling us some of the other things attached to that one purpose. For this reason, I've come that I might destroy the works of the enemy. Okay? He heals, he delivers, he sets free, and then he gave eternal life. So many things attached to that same one purpose. So ultimately, it's one purpose, but there are so many things attached to it. Is somebody listening to me? And you find your purpose, your world will never remain the same. I'm telling you. When you find your purpose, your world will never, all this provision and survival, you will live beyond it. You will live beyond survival. You will live beyond survival. So when you see David O singing, some of us feel that is super. David O is in the deployment of his gifts and talent. Shikena. And when you are good, do you know that it has nothing to do with voice? Do you know it has nothing to do with voice? It has one of the funniest voices. Am I correct? Very funny voice, but so if you think your voice is it, there are many international singers whose voices are cracked and terrible, yet they are global phenomenon. I'm telling you. So you ended up in science class because everybody, you think it's for the smart guys. And because that's how we measure smartness. We think it's science and mathematics. Compare David O and Elon Musk. Everybody is different and unique. That's it. So nobody's smarter than you. The person just found their own. Find your own. They will be looking at you too. That's it. And the earlier we start helping our children and deploy them in that direction, the better. So I wanted to be an engineer because there's no engineer in the family. Me, I just want to be rich. I just want to blow and explode. It has nothing to do with... So thank you for the comments about the entrepreneurship thing. That's very, very important. It's almost guaranteed that you will be in some cycle. And by virtue of being in that cycle, when you enter into the camp of Jesus, the 12 disciples, you knew that your destiny was sealed. Abi? They knew. They were ordinary, but by virtue of association with Jesus, they knew that we have arrived. It's just a matter of time. So that you see in entrepreneurs in WhiteOlive, that's the purpose. 2 Corinthians chapter 6. And we display that scripture. I'll read from verse 1. Quickly. 2 Corinthians chapter 6 from verse 1. We then, as workers together with him. So this scripture is addressed to you. Take it as if Jesus is speaking to you. We then, as workers together with him, Christ, also plead with you not to receive the grace of God in vain. I'm telling somebody today, don't take God's grace, don't receive the grace in vain. Verse 2. For he says, in an acceptable time I have had you, and in the day of salvation I have helped you. Behold, now is the accepted time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. So there is no other better time to find purpose. Now is the day of salvation. Now is the day to look for purpose. Abraham found his own at 75. He still found it all the same. You are young, you are lucky. The earlier you find it, the better. Verse 3. We give no offense in anything, that our own ministry may not be blamed. That's why this is a call to the ministers of the gospel. And when I say minister of the gospel, I'm not limiting it to pastors. All of you here are ministers. We are waiting for you to deploy your own. He said, we'll try as much as possible to not to take any offense, so that someone will not cast aspersion on our ministry. Verse 4. But in all things, we commend ourselves as ministers of God in much patience, in tribulations, in needs, in distresses, in stripes, in imprisonment, in tumult, in labors, in sleeplessness, in fasting. These things I have gone through. And some of you will likely go through if you want to live purposefully. So you heard the story. I've been locked up before. I have sleepless nights, several nights that I have to labor in God's word, that I have to pray over church. I have to pray over somebody. I have to do vigil with somebody. These are the things. Impurity, and because sometimes the flesh, so you're keeping yourself pure. By knowledge, seeking knowledge from God's word. By long suffering, sometimes you have to endure. By kindness, by the Holy Spirit, and by sincere love. And that's the ultimate dimension of our lives. When you enter into the dimensions of love, you can't serve people that you don't love. The reason why leaders are wicked is because they don't understand love. The reason why Dubai ruler is doing is because of the love for people. By the truth, by the word of truth, by the power of God, by the hammer of righteousness on the right and on the left, verse 8, by honor and dishonor, by evil report, because sometimes you are doing good, some people will say hey, it's bad, by good report, by bad report, by evil report, by good report, by deceivers, and yet true. Because have you noticed that they messed up Christianity for us now? I told my wife, I said, these people are making pastoring more difficult. When you see a pastor who does magic. So after a while, they carry all of us together. Even when you have a genuine miracle, people are watching it with another eyes, including the pastors that you trust. As unknown, yet well-known. We are not known, but some of you know. As dying, and behold, we live. And as chastened, not yet killed. Verse 10. As sorrowful, yet always rejoicing. As poor, yet making many rich. As having nothing, yet possessing all the things. All the business that I left, all the monies and the billions that I should have made, I left it so that you can make it. So we are making people rich. When a pastor comes to terms with that, he knows that his needs are settled for the rest of his life. Making people rich. So it's not a big deal that you have people who are venturing. Okay, so just in case someone just showing up in this ministry, you don't know. You know how many people we have released into diaspora? You don't have an idea. Just yesterday, another family relocated to the UK. We are global. Are you listening to me? It's not everything that glitter or the looking for social media popularity. It's doing the work. That is where ministry is. Changing lives and transforming destinies. So that's where the work is. So we're making many rich. So let me quickly do a wrap-up. Dreams, and purpose. So when we talk about dreams, I want to assume that the person who has that question is not talking about the dream that you see in the night. Okay? It's the vision in your mind. The truth is, depending on the kind of exposure that you have, okay, some of the experiences that you have in life, you can catch something powerful, okay, that you want to give expression to, okay? But like most of the panelists have said, it's not too far. I said something, which is the reason that thing brought me to, I said you start from the known to the unknown. So everyone who showed up here came with something. And I said your purpose cannot be too far from it. A fruit doesn't fall too far away from the tree. And so you can be gifted and talented and powerful and commercialize it and become known globally. You can use it to serve yourself, but you can also use it to serve Satan, and you can use it to serve God. And that's where that's very, very important. So your purpose is the reason for which you are created. If you submit your thoughts everything to God, God will use it to fulfill his own agenda. If you don't, you can use it to fulfill your own purpose. And if Satan catches you, he can use it to fulfill his own agenda. Are you with me? I've always dreamed of having a family center. We're going to have a family center that's as big as UBA, headquarters of UBA. 15 floors, 13 floors, just family center. And what they're doing there is ministry to the family. That is inside the purpose. And because now, when you have more resources, you have more opportunity, you can give expression to many other things. Are you with me? So you don't like the poor to go hungry. There's so many things God can bring through that if you submit it to God. Is somebody listening with me to me? So the earlier, that's why we are taking this back into our curriculum so that people can get it as quickly as possible. This message for this month is very key. Listen to them over and over. It makes your journey the rest of the year a lot easier. Very important. Very important. So that flesh thing is the thing. That's the real thing. They said Jesus came to come and save his people. And then when it was time to die, he said, I don't want to die. He was negotiating with God. I just had a feeling that God said, Jesus, are you okay? Kiloshe, what happened to you? You're supposed to die. He said, I don't want to die. You're going to die. Or I'll kill you. He got to the point. He knew the reason why he was kept. When it was now time, he was now saying, I don't want to die. Is it not in the Bible? He was now negotiating with God. I just had a feeling that my 40 years. Come on, go and die. So it's not easy when they said that when you find purpose, it's not easy. If I have my way, you think it's easy, praying and fasting? Praying and fasting. And prayer and fasting, you cannot touch your wife. Prayer and fasting. And somebody will go and stay on the mountain. I'm waiting on God. Somebody receive for all of us. All of us will be fine. That's why we are outsourcing that spirituality. It's serious work. I'm waiting for God to talk to you. You are trying to. It's not easy. That's what we're talking about. But when you find it, it defines everything, changes everything. You will fulfill your purpose. Amen. You didn't hear me. I said you will fulfill your purpose. Amen. In the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Reading to the questions, the role of society and how society affects our purpose. We have the luxury to choose our choice, our cycle. Is it the one of Mary reason? Was it one of the main reasons God gave us brain? Everything isn't prayers. Is that the question? The other one? Okay, referencing Pastor T. Every man has two destinies, natural purpose, divine purpose. Does God decide both? Or is it natural purpose, a function of our daily living? If you listen to the message, I explained it. It's simple. You don't need to know God to become successful in what you're doing. You don't need to know God. And he did it in such a way that you have the will. You make up your mind what you want to do. And that's why he will not force himself on you. Okay? So, but he also did it in such a way that you came into this world with something. He gave it to you. Benevolence. Which is the reason why I said trust is bequeathed. You don't have to do something to earn my trust. Okay? When you build relationship with people, you initially introduce the trust. It's because of all the issue that we are having. That's why we are now checking people. Normally, you bequeath the trust. It's when the person betrays the trust. That's where you now begin to. So what God did, just like marriage, they give you a certificate ahead when you marry, whether you are going to make good of the marriage or not. Are you with me? It's the same thing. So God bequeathed the gifts and the grace to us. So as you arrive here, there's something you can function with, something you can work with. It's just that you now decide if you want to use it for God. That's why I said two destinies. Do you understand the concept of being born again? 2 Corinthians chapter 5, verse 17. Do you understand the concept of born again? If any man be in Christ, is what? Brand new. It's not refurbished. A new creature. All things, in other words, the person is brand new, no past. New, brand new. It's not refurbished. That's what it means. So what it means now, this new one will fulfill purpose. Do you understand it? If any man be in Christ, he is a new creature or new creation. All things are passed away. Behold, all things are become new. Now this one is a brand new individual finding alignment, because the Spirit came alive, finding alignment with the plans and the purposes of God. So when Christians are not in alignment, that's part of the problem that we have. Born again, a new creature will fulfill purpose if the person. So if you're not born again, it's not likely. You're not even alive. You know, there's this concept of redemption and condemnation. Whoever breaks the law, he redeemed us from the curse of the Lord, being made a curse from us. For it is written, cursed is everyone that hangs on the tree, that the blessings of Abraham may come upon the Gentiles. So there's a school of thought that says that Gentiles were not redeemed from the curse of the law. That it was Jews who were given the law that were redeemed from the curse of the law. But what is the destiny of Gentiles who were not given the law? They were condemned already. Condemned already. Okay, so I don't want to go into theology. So that's what it does. So I hope you understand. I hope you have this understanding. So listen to the message again and again. They will become clearer and will become a lot easier for you. And like Pastor Femi said, I mentioned it before, that you are Chief Executive Director of multi-global, international, does not mean that's your purpose. So that one is chop. The real purpose may not be that one. When you align, when you find God, you can now find purpose. Praise the Lord. Yeah. I said, praise the Lord. Thank you, Jesus. I have the honor of introducing to us this morning this special guest. Some of you know Mama, Mrs. D.A. Fashoyin. She's a mega star. I'm sure you know her. She's the one who sang, "Oh, do Lord soak me." Oh, that's Mama here. Help me celebrate Mommy. Hallelujah. Amen. Thank you, Mommy. Mommy she's been a guest in my house for about a week now. And you see, I'm so lucky, so blessed. Okay. And sometimes she feels that she's sending me errands. She didn't know that I'm drawing grace. She has so much respect and honor for me. And Mama has been listening to her messages, and she will sit me down and ask questions. Ma? Mama is 82. She's 16. Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. What a joy. She told me so many stories, and one of them is finding purpose. So she's been listening to this purpose thing. And then she said something that's very instructive, with your permission, Mommy. That it got to a point that her husband asked her to choose between the ministry and him. This thing that we're talking about. He said to Peter, I said, see me, see fish. See me, see money. Do you love me more than these things? It's in your Bible. I use the language that we understand. See me, see fish. See me, see money. See me, see fame. Do you love me more than these things? And then she was asking me that, was it a good choice that I made? This decision she made several years ago. Blessed are the ears that is hearing these things that you are hearing now. People are 80, 90, they don't understand purpose. And we know that when they go to the other side, they will chop bulala. Because God will ask you, all the things I gave you, what did you do with it? Let me celebrate Mama one more time. Thank you, Ma.